feel like I've got nothing to say on the subject. Good morning. Welcome.
Hi. What are we talking about today? Where's my newspaper? Today's date is I feel out of practice. We took 1 week off.
Yeah, we
And
can't
now
take any weeks off.
after 3 podcasts, I now have no idea what we're doing. I think
We
we're going to
can't
talk
take
about
any weeks off,
no,
Ali.
we're
That
not
has
that
to stop.
we don't have mastery yet. We have to practice every
No, we need to practice every week, every day. Or
every
something I've noticed that I do is I repeat what you say when you said it like an echo, and I just did it now. So I'm going to try and not do it today on this call.
Have you listened to our
I
podcast?
listened back to them and they're brilliant.
They're brilliant.
Probably shouldn't say that,
And
but
do you notice the things that you do where you're like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah,
I repeat everything, not everything you've said, because that would be really weird.
most boring podcast. Yeah. I say yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna
Yeah.
try not to do that. Yes. All right. So do we need to talk about why we're doing this podcast, or can we just skip right over that part? Let's just go right into the
I
thing.
mean, you do you want to do it? You can
No,
mention it.
nope.
Okay.
It's in
Should we do a
the,
list of things we don't want to do that we don't
we're not
want
going
to
to tell you
do?
what we're doing. We're not going to tell you why we're doing it. We're just going to jump into the topic. You'll have to guess as you listen.
Oh, I've got a pen here. I don't know why. I'm all primed with a
You
pen.
ready? Okay,
I'm
write
ready.
this word.
Okay.
Parenting.
Parenting. See, I'm repeating what you're saying. It's a
Oh
horrible
God.
habit. Must
Actually,
stop.
I think it's supposed to be the way that we humans connect with each other. Tilt your head, make eye contact, repeat the last word.
That's something else I notice I do. I've seen it on coaching calls. I hold my head to one side, a bit like a bird. You know, a bird in the garden when they kind of go and they've heard
Yes.
something. So I've been practicing holding my head the other way, but it feels
Oh,
really awkward.
yeah. Why is that? I have
That's
like a
not,
sore neck.
I lean this way.
All right.
So
So here's
I
the
feel I've
thing.
got nothing to say on
All
this
right.
subject, which is hilarious and completely untrue.
It's too big, right? Parenting is too big. So we got to pick something within parenting that we're going to talk about. And I feel
I have
like,
something. Oh, go, 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 go.
oh,
Tell me your
all right.
thing, then I'll tell you
I'll
my
launch.
thing.
We'll see if we can marry them.
Launch. You launch, and then I'll
Um,
launch.
so we're in the stadium. We're at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, which is really no joke. I had no idea. This
Mm.
place is unbelievable. You hear about academies and you're like, oh, that's cool. But when you actually get to go in and there's gates and there's security and there's like pomp and circumstance and
Mm.
you're in this stadium and the president of the United States is there, all of that, you're just like, and at one point, my brother-in-law, I was talking to him about something and I said, man, I am so proud of that kid. And he started to cry.
Mm.
And I remember thinking, like, what is it like for that parent? Like, what's that like for my brother-in-law?
Mm.
Because there's a part of me that was thinking, I wonder if I'll be envious, right?
Mm.
Neither of my children went to the Air Force Academy or any academy for that reason, right? And
Mm.
like, is there a comparison thing that happens? Or like, if that were my kid, would I think I was a good parent? You know what I mean? So like a lot of that was
Mm.
floating around that um as a mom, do I run
Mm.
around the world and measure my own value as a mother based on my children's accomplishments?
Yeah.
So that was something we might want to banter
And do
about.
you?
Well, I think I used to. Um, and then when my children fell apart, they both fell apart at different times. So our
Phew.
daughter, our daughter kind of fell apart starting in middle school, and then that kind of extended all the way through high school. So she really struggled like mightily. Um, and in the beginning, I think my husband and I both were like, "What are we doing wrong?"
Mm.
That somehow we're not good enough parents, which is why she's unraveling. And we had to. I, it was a gift, I think, because we had to really check in with ourselves and kind of set aside that idea or that notion that children are clay and we mold them because maybe they're a little clay and they are also born with their own stuff, and allowing our kids, not allowing, but being with them as they go through that journey without um, inserting ourselves. I'll speak for myself, without inserting myself into their struggle.
Mm,
It's tricky business because a lot of times, I would think, well, and I received this information especially from public ed, which is why I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about it. I have a hair in my face, and I can't.
what's public ed? Public education.
Public education, and a lot of times, um, the teachers, the counselors, the people trying to help our daughter, especially, but also our son, um, they would look to us. And I was also on the school board. And so I know that teachers and administrators were like, parents, if that person's parent, maybe it's their parents, and there's like a little bit of, well, my kid's struggling and I feel like I'm doing everything I know how. I don't think I'm a bad parent, but boy, like
Mm,
how could I do even more? Because I was really struggling. So yeah,
mm,
I think I used to, and I think part of the gift and the blessing that came along with having two kids struggle back to back right in a row,
mm,
um, was that I was able to kind of like extract myself from their struggle.
mm,
That they're human and they're going to have struggle just like I'm human and I'm going to have struggle, and nobody else necessarily has to be responsible for that or to blame for it. It's just like it's a
mm.
struggle.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Mm,
And I think what I was thinking when you were talking, because I really recognize that um, feeling pride and feeling I'm responsible for my children doing well, and people saying to me, "Oh, you've done such a good job." And I say, we say that to people, don't we? We say, "You've done such a good job."
yeah,
And so it's as if I have done something, and I have. We've all done something
yeah,
as parents. We have an impact as parents. But there's this either or. It was either the child's fault or my fault. And actually the reality is it's both and.
yeah, yeah,
As you said, the child is bringing something to the table. They are, there's that idea that the child is tabula rasa. They are this clean slate when they arrive, and we then input everything.
yeah,
That is, as you, it's true. They are a little bit clay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then there's them, their essential self. My sons were
Yes.
brought up in the same home, have had key aspects of their lives have been similar. They have different personalities, different
Yeah.
ways of being,
Yep.
different approaches, different attitudes, And I remember being quite shocked when they were little that they weren't completely identical to one another. I was why is this child behaving differently to that child? It
Right.
really did surprise me, and it sounds possibly a bit dotty now, but at the time I was genuinely like, this kid is not the same as that kid. I hadn't had much to do with children particularly. I never really liked them. I didn't want them.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't something I was madly interested in, hadn't spent a lot of time with them. And I was really surprised at how different they are, which suggests to me, yeah, they do bring their own
Absolutely.
energies, essential selves to the table. And we also have an impact.
Absolutely. Yeah, the idea in Al-Anon that I love, Al-Anon, in case you don't know what it is for families and friends of alcoholics or addicts,
Mm,
is, when you show up in Al-Anon, you're like, I want to control, I want to fix, tell me what to do to get my loved one to stop drinking or using.
mm,
And the message that keeps coming back is like, you can't control, you didn't create this mess, you can't control it.
mm,
However, you are contributing. Anytime two humans are in
Mm,
a relationship, they're contributing to the dynamic. And that's a lot of the message that we got, especially when our daughter, so our daughter, she ended up going to some special programming, wilderness therapy, which is pretty, like when you run out of options, that's what you do. Like when you've
mm,
tried the hospitals and you've tried the intensive outpatient programs and you've done all the group therapies and you've gotten her all of the psychiatrists and we've done all the meds and all to no avail. Like she was not able to like manage her roller coaster. You're just like, okay, this is like the sixth time she's tried to kill herself. Like
mm,
the psychiatrist in the hospital was like, you're going to have to find a residential program. And my husband and I were like, what are you talking about? So you start to delve into that world. Like, well, what does that even mean? What's available? Because we don't talk about that. We don't really know about those things, at least not here.
mm,
So our daughter did a wilderness therapy program. That's a 3-month program where they literally live out of their backpacks and they stay in tents and they travel around. And part of the idea is that they get out of society, right? We get them
mm.
out of society, and we put the sorry, I've
You
like
need to go.
no,
The dog.
we're on a podcast. No, my husband.
Oh, right.
He's like, oh, sorry.
It's
Um,
okay.
so anyway, our kid goes there for 3 months, and then we're
Mm,
brought in halfway through, and we do therapy for parents, and that's a lot of what they talk about. Like, hey guys, you didn't create this mess, right? Unless you beat your kids every day, and even kids that are beaten every day don't end up this. You know what I mean? Like, even if
mm,
we were the
mm,
worst parents ever, they're still kids that don't end up like this. So
mm,
a lot of that was like, you guys are doing a great job already. Let's take that off your
mm,
shoulders. However, there are better ways and more effective ways of contributing to that relationship. And that's really beautiful because
mm,
that, I think, I know this sounds really weird, but it was those experiences that really helped me with leadership. Yeah, of course it helped me with my relationship with my kids, that's why I was there.
mm,
But when I apply that to like other humans that I don't love dearly and would do anything for, but people that I really care about, that's where you're like, okay, the leader thinks that they're responsible for all the things, from a place of like obligation and blame, just like a
mm,
parent.
mm.
Like if we're failing, then I'm failing. It's my fault. No, it's not. It's their fault. And we're pointing fingers instead of saying, like,
Yeah.
actually, we're all adults
Mm,
and we're contributing. How might we be contributing in ways that are not
mm.
helpful?
I really like the idea of contributing, not controlling.
Mm-hmm.
And this morning, before we came on this call, I was sort of thinking, oh, I don't have anything to say about parenting. Um, and and then I was thinking about um, controlling and how it's not even that I want to, Ali. It's like a compulsion
Mm.
to control my sons and this constant daily conscious practice, and I don't always catch myself, but the conscious practice of stepping back and it reminds me, not controlling them, it reminds me very much of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
where in a
Yeah.
coaching session, I just want to get in there and put my
Mm-hmm.
hand in their brain and rummage around and then, okay, now this, or tell them the stuff, right? Get a pen, write this down. This is the
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not powerful. That's not
No.
empowerment.
Mm-mm.
I'm not keen on that word, but that's not that person stepping into their own agency, finding their own answers. Um, and yesterday I was thinking in relation to coaching and working with someone professionally, about my first stance, which takes some real practice, is this standing back, getting off the court, standing right
Yeah.
back, so that the human being in front of me can reflect, find their own answers, dig around in the corners of their own brain, not my hands in there, but them in there, thinking and finding, churning everything up so the silt rises to the top and they can see some pieces. And then there is also a place for me to
Yes.
share perspectives, contribute your word, share perspectives that then support scaffolding. It's like scaffolding. I share a perspective, which then has the potential, the possibility to scaffold some new and support some new thinking,
Yeah.
but only putting that in if it is has to be by my judgment, if I judge it to be imperative in some way, because otherwise, unless it's sort of like this golden linchpin, what they have found for themselves is of far more value than
Yes.
what I'm contributing. And
Yes.
so it's not a, like, oh, here's my checklist, okay, two of those, one of those, all right, now I can contribute. It doesn't work on that.
No,
It's
there's
not
no
formulaic.
recipe. Yeah.
No, there's no recipe. It's something that you are dancing in,
Yes.
dancing with, moment by moment.
Yeah.
So it's a contemporaneous practice. I love that
I
word.
can't believe you just worked to that end. That was well
I
done.
worked it in. I worked it in. I remember the first time I ever heard that word. It was Rachel Park Davis, who might be listening to this podcast. Probably shouldn't say her name,
Sup,
actually.
Rachel?
Scratch that from the. Anyway, my friend Rachel. And I remember where I was sitting when she said contemporaneous, and I was like, wow, I love that word.
Damn.
Anyway,
I don't even know what that
um,
word means, just so you know. But it sounded
okay.
like on the spot, like that's something that you
Uh-huh.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
get it from the
yeah. So
context.
yeah, exactly. So it's happening. You can deconstruct the word and get the meaning. Yes.
Yes.
So it's happening in the moment, and so I was thinking about that yesterday in relation to our work,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see how that operates in my relationship as a parent, my relationship with my
Yes.
sons, and my mind I always want a rule. I
Mm-hmm.
always I always want, like, you're in or you're out.
Yeah. This is the
It's much
right way.
easier. Yeah, it's much easier for me than having flipping vague, grey, free dancing moves. I'm like,
Yes,
no,
yes.
show me the steps, and
So,
I'll do,
yes.
and let me
Give
just do the steps, and I don't have to think. I don't want to
yeah.
have to, like, free,
Yeah.
like those beautiful
Yes.
free dancers who are just like making it up on the moment,
Yes.
improvising. I'm like,
Yep.
oh my God, I have to be awake, I
Yeah.
have to be alert, to be
Yeah.
conscious.
It, I think it's a lot harder. Like okay, that's my epiphany about what you just said. It's
Sounds
harder,
really hard.
super hard, uh, especially as parent. It's hard enough with clients. Like
Mm,
I always say, in some ways, I figuratively have to sit on my hands because I want the same thing. Like I'm so driven to solve puzzles. It's so satisfying for me to like connect the dots and be like, oop, I know what's wrong now. Oop, I got the solution here. Oop, I know what they need to do. And like to sit on my hands and be like, shut up, Allison, open back up, because that's not your job. Your job isn't to
mm,
tell them.
mhm,
And then as mother, especially spending, well, it was 32 total hours driving all the way out to the Air Force Academy and back
mm.
with a 19-year-old and a 22-year-old. No frontal lobes whatsoever. By the way, um, well, so here's a perfect example. So we're sitting in the mountains and we're at 7,000 feet. So there's not a lot of atmosphere up there, right? And it's cloudy when we got there, but sunny eventually around like an hour into the ceremony, the sun comes out. And I used to live in Colorado, so I know this sun. This sun is like it's going to boil your skin off your body. It's like so intense. So I've got like 8 packages of sunscreen and I am like slathering it all over my body every 15 minutes because I'm like, I am not going to get the thing that I've gotten in this sun before. And both of these children, sorry, young adults, my child and her boyfriend, and I'm like, you want some? You want, and they're like, nope, we're fine. Nope, we're fine. And that's where you're like, so the next morning we get up and get in the car and I look, both of them have like blisters on their faces from the massive sunburn.
Mm, mm,
And as a parent, I'm like, but I have to sit on my hands. Like I can't,
mm.
if they were 4, I'd be like, get over here right now, and I would slather on
Yeah,
them. But now they're 19 and 22. It's a
yeah.
dumb example, and yet it's a perfect example because that is everything.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dumb example. I think that you know, therein lies the difference.
Yeah.
Oh thee, oh thou. But therein lies the difference.
Yeah.
They're not 4. When they're 4, we are, is that the dog
Can you
scratching
hear
around?
it? I'm so
I can,
sorry.
no, it's fine.
Oliver, be quiet.
With your
He's
husband trying to get
he's
into the room.
no, no, this is okay. Let's just do this. Come here.
Oliver,
This
is the
is my
dog called
boy,
Oliver?
Oliver, because he doesn't he look
Oliver.
British? Well, there he
Hi,
was.
Oliver. That's so funny. That's such a
Yeah, and
grown-up name for a dog.
he looks like if you put him in some wire-rimmed glasses and a little bow tie, that he would own a bookstore, some kind of like little bookshop in London. So that's why we named him Oliver, because that's how and he has a, I think it's a Cockney accent. That's what I think.
Oh, really? You don't think
Yes.
he's okay? I love that. He'd own a bookstore in London.
Yeah, but he's actually like kind of blue
Ah.
collar.
Oh, that's so
And he's
funny.
not real smart, is what we always say about him.
Smart enough to own a bookstore.
Yes, yes.
Don't
So
dumb him
anyways,
down. Where were we? We were talking about when they're 4,
yeah,
and it's a massive hit when a child arrives and you've suddenly got to do all this stuff for another human being.
yeah,
They can't do anything for themselves. You're doing everything for them.
yes,
Um, and then, at least for me, that I became habituated to that. That became the thing I did. I did
right.
everything for, first this one, then second child came along for these 2 human beings. And you were talking earlier, I think you mentioned something about value and kind of like
Yes,
being a good parent. And is that where I kind of like, if my child is okay, then I've been a good parent, and
yes,
I have some kind of value as a parent.
yes,
You know, my value has gone up in the parenting stakes or whatever, and then they go down if I'm not, if my
yeah,
child isn't doing so well. And so at that stage, I think I got a lot of value. I felt I had a lot of value because I was bringing all this value added to these 2 people who couldn't
yes,
do anything. And then very slowly over years, it changes,
yes,
but you still have this enormous amount of control as opposed to contribution.
yes,
And then you get to the stage that I'm at, the stage that you're at, where they are in their sort of like late teens, early 20s. We have now, science has told us that the brain hasn't fully developed till it's 25.
mm,
So, all of the things that we have, laws, regulations, rules around adulthood. You can have sex at this age, you can't vote until that age. It seems
right,
really odd that you can make a family, but you're not allowed to vote. But anyway, so all of these laws and rules that came in at different stages,
mhm,
which don't connect to one another. So we've got these young people who are able to have sex. They're in their 20s, their early 20s. They're able to vote. They're able to drive cars. They're able to have jobs, pay tax, do all of this stuff. And yet we know but it's not even about knowing that their frontal lobe or whatever, that their brains
no,
aren't fully developed till they're 25. There's just something in me. I think I've said this to you before. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself, which I probably am. But when I walk past Casey when he's cooking, I and Ruben, I turn the gas down. They're cooking on the stove. They're cooking. I
yeah,
don't cook for them now. Very, very rarely, because everyone's got their own timetables. No one's in at the same time.
yeah,
So it's just,
yes.
I very rarely cook for them. And I walk past, I turn the gas down.
I love it.
It's an unconscious behavior because I'm like, that's
Yes,
too high. It's too
Yeah.
high. And I just do it. And one
Yeah.
of them will say, I was cooking. I'm cooking.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was deliberate. And then I have to make up a story about why I've turned the gas
Why you're not
down.
a total idiot and
Like I've
cannot
got
help
some kind of
yourself.
tic and I can't help myself. But I have to make up a story or I have to own, and I use a mixture of lying and then being truthful, owning the fact that like, I just want to control you. And I remember somebody
Yes.
saying to me before my children were this sort of age and stage, I remember somebody saying to me that I worked with that she wanted to crawl inside her son's body and live his life for him because she just felt she could do it so much better.
Oh my God. That is
And
the
I remember,
best
yeah,
phrase I've ever heard.
yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, she's weird. But now I get it because
Yeah.
I'm like, ah, I'm
Yes.
literally,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
perforated, punctured mouth from biting my lip because I have this compulsion
Yes.
to control.
Yes.
And then I try and fashion it so it's a contribution as opposed to a
But it
controlling
comes
thing.
from control.
But
So,
it comes from control. So, however it's fashioned,
yes.
whatever it's wrapped up
Yes.
in, it's control as
Yeah.
opposed to contribution.
Yep. When I was thinking about talking about parenting today, the thing that came up in my mind is, especially after that experience with the Air Force Academy, that you parent the child you're given, not the child that you wish you had,
Mm,
right?
that's nice.
Like, is there a part of me that wishes that my children had these really high level accomplishments and had done like super
Mm,
duper stuff
mm,
by society standards, right? I,
yeah.
I think my
Mm,
children are actually incredibly accomplished given what they've been through.
mm, mm.
But that these aren't the things that are like they're not going to get a special. The president isn't going to come to my son's rehab in Arizona
Yes.
and be
Yes. And
like,
shake his
shake
hand.
his hand. Now, I would love
Yeah.
it if the president
Yeah.
would. And the president actually has experience with addiction with his own children, so I know that he might even get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's like every moment that a parent or leader, right? Any moment we
Mm,
spend wishing
mm,
that our people, that our children were a certain way, our spouse, our mothers, right? Our own
mm,
parents were a different way
mm.
is it just creates suffering.
And
Mm.
it's that idea as well of, or there is that idea as well of what we can't be with in others.
Oh my God, 100%.
There's there's something there because you know one of my sons irritates the hell out of me because he's so organized and makes I just feel crap in comparison. I compare myself to him and I'm like, God, he's so organized, he's brilliant. Um, and that annoys me. So
Mm.
there's something around my desire to be more organized.
Yeah.
Um, or I have some judgment about myself because I judge myself to be disorganized. And then one of my son, the other son, it makes sense, like a whole army of them, but the other son is really laid back. And I'm like, bloody hell, that's so annoying. But it's so annoying because I would, I find it difficult to relax. I find it very difficult to, I have 1,000 things going on in my brain at one time.
Yeah.
And he seems to be able to just let stuff pass by.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn you, child. But I would love that
Yes.
freedom of
Yes.
mind.
Yeah.
So I noticed those are just two of the things about
Yeah.
them that irritate me. But I notice that I want the things that I'm annoyed by in them.
Well, it's why it annoys you probably. Like, how
Yes.
come they can do it and I can't, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And I want to make them wrong for it. Like
of
I think one
course.
of them's an
Oh, they are.
obsessive lunatic and the other one is a lazy ass.
And when they're listening,
Oh,
Ruben and Casey,
I'm going to burn this recording.
we love you.
Gouge their ears out so they can't hear it. Won't
Yeah.
listen anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
And it's interesting. It's as I started to go through the real struggles with our kids, like that's when I noticed my ability to be with my clients who were struggling in whatever way that they were struggling, but my ability to be with them in their mess, in their struggle, in their like internal gnashing of teeth,
Mm,
because of what was going on in our home with our own children, I could be with so much more of that with my clients. And then it
mm,
came full circle that when my children were struggling, I could be with them even more in their struggle. When they
mm,
started struggling, I would panic and I
mm,
dance around and hop around to try to fix it or protect them from it, and only to learn there was there's no,
no.
especially with our, well, with both our kids, like there was no way I was going to set up the house or set up myself or my husband was going to set him that this wasn't going to happen. I'm human. I have to sleep sometimes, so I couldn't
Oh,
oversee
Alison, you're so
everything.
selfish. You have to
I'm
sleep. Sleep.
I need just a few hours
What kind of parent
and
are you?
water. I need a little water and a snack. Um, and it was like almost like when I started to recognize, okay, I'm not, there is no level, like our situation got to the point that there was no way to control it.
Mm,
Like you can try, but the universe was like, haha, that's not how this is going to work. Like
mm,
you can't be 24/7 on top of them and you can't know all the things. And
no.
it's not because you're not a good mother. It's
Mm,
because this is what is happening right now. And like all
mm,
your efforts to control are about you. They're not, obviously they're about the child as well, but it was because I
mm,
wanted, like your friend, I wanted to jump inside their bodies and fix it.
mm, mm.
And that wouldn't have
And
been
we do.
powerful.
No, and we do want to do that
Mm,
wherever our children are on the scale of life, coping, struggling, not coping, blah, wherever they are at whatever point. I imagine, add another 20 years and they're in their 40s, and there's possibly still going to be the compulsion to control and fix and make it
yeah,
okay for them, because not because we're nasty and we're control freaks, although there is that, but because we love them.
yeah,
And if we can make it better,
yeah.
of course we will.
That just brings up a really great story where, so our son is, um, we're transferring him from, he also did a wilderness therapy program, which he really loved. Our daughter, like, it traumatized her, but our son was like, that was the best thing ever. And from there, we transported him from that program to the residential rehab, mental health, high school program so he could finish out his schooling plus get the supports that he needed for his addiction. And they ask you, like, they're like, do you want us to transport him or do you want to do it? And I said, I wanted to do it. And I felt like I could do it, but we had our daughter here who was not doing great. And so my husband and I were like, okay, well, one of us will do it, the other one stay with the other kids. So we elected that I would go, but I didn't want to do it alone because I can't, again, I'm not 24/7. I have to sleep. I have to like go to the bathroom sometimes. And I wasn't sure.
I'm reporting you.
Oh,
Carry
is
on.
that why you're writing? You're writing it all down.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
So I asked my father, and my father
Mm,
is at that time was like 78 or whatever. So not a young buck, very
mm,
active dude. Like he's,
mm,
so I knew he could handle it, and he flies all the time and he's very with it cognitively as well. So I called my dad, who has been outside of all of this all along, going like, he can't handle, he is very, it's not that he can't handle it, but it was really difficult for him to watch all of this because he was
mm,
like, what are you guys doing in your house that your kids are just melting constantly? And I was like, I don't know. We're like really nice people. What's going on? And he really, my father, as I look at him, he's not able to be with a lot of emotional intensity. It makes him real uncomfortable. Tampons, emotional intensity,
mm,
you know, anything female, like makes him real uncomfortable. So fine. But I thought at least he can be like a second body. And he really loves my son, our son, his grandson. So we fly out to get him from this program to transport him. And we get him to the rehab place in Arizona. And we drop our we drop off our son, my son, his grandson. And my son's doing really well with the transport. Like he's not thrilled that he's going there because it's not a great, if you're an addict, like it's the worst thing. You're just like, yes, I suck. I'm an addict. Now I have to do
mm.
all these special programs. He's doing the thing again. Oh, he's leaving.
that the
Anyways,
dog or your
no,
husband?
my
I'm so
husband
confused.
again, like,
Yeah, husband.
sheesh. Um, and we get him situated and we hug him and we get in the car and we're driving away. And I look at my dad and he's crying. And I said, "Are you going to be okay?" And he looked at me and he said, "I don't know how you do this." And like, that was a really powerful moment, a powerful memory for me
Mm,
because he can't imagine like what it took to get to the point where I can kiss my son and hug him and know he's got it.
mm,
Like, this is, I hate this. I hate that I have to leave him here. I hate
yeah.
that he has addiction. I hate that I can't help him. I hate that he has to live with 40 other kids.
Mm,
And
mm,
this is what is next.
yeah.
And I'm going to like kiss him, I'm going to hug him, and I'm going to believe in him.
Mm, mm, yeah. Choosing to believe in him,
Yeah,
um, like a conscious choice, because I'm thinking about trust and how trust is, we don't know.
yeah,
We don't
yeah,
know what's going to happen. That's why it's a leap of faith. That's why we trust.
yeah,
Trust is not certainty. Trust is not knowing.
right.
And just imagining you um, choosing to trust that your son has this.
And I've had to do it with our daughter and then do
Mm,
it again with our son. Like,
mm,
we had been
mm,
through so much agony with
mm,
her, only when to find like, oh God, our son is also struggling.
mm,
And
mm,
and now now
mm,
we're dealing with that too. So
mm.
both kids are falling apart and unraveling at the same time. And it's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, right? You're just kind of like, I can't, there's too many struggles going on at once. But again, that's
More like
life.
being waterboarded, I imagine, than drinking from a, like
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it, did you have you found that it has gotten easier, that trusting? And I realize we're
Mm.
talking about um what, a more extreme
Yeah.
situation. If it's on a spectrum, it's more
Hmm.
extreme than where my sons currently are. However, my experience, it feels kind of similar. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
in it, it's on a gradient, obviously, but like
Yes.
really want to trust them
Hmm.
and let go and stop hampering
Yeah.
their agency and their power. And I find it really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Have you found what I've now decided is your daily practice that you've been in? Have you found that it's become easier for you?
I think the thing that has become easier isn't um, the trusting and the letting, allowing, and the contributing versus controlling. Like, that's not the part that got easier. What got easier was me being able to step back and measuring myself based on how they were doing, how they are doing. I still do it. Like, when my
Mm,
daughter takes her coat off and you can see her arms, she's a
mm,
self-harmer. So
mm,
she's got massive scarring from her wrists to her shoulders. There's no hiding it.
mm,
When she does that, there's still that pang of like, oh, everyone's going to judge us. They're going to judge her. They're going to
mm,
judge me. They're going to judge my husband.
mm,
And what has gotten easier is like letting that go. Just like, yep, they are. And it's okay. It's all
mm,
okay. Like, let them
mm,
judge, let them have that experience, and recognizing that that's about them more than it is about us.
mm, mm. Yeah. And connecting, in my head, I'm connecting that to that your experience of drudging yourself,
Yes.
where you've
Yes.
been,
I
where
can,
you started at the beginning of this conversation with,
yeah.
trying to work out, am I a good parent and am I not a good parent? Am I doing the right things? I'm doing everything I can. We're nice people. Why is this happening? And
Yeah.
then like digging around, desperately trying to find out, why is this the way it is? What's happening? What have
Yeah.
I done?
Right.
What have I
And
not done?
and it allows us, I can now be with more of other people's judgment of us.
Mm,
Used to be I had no facility. I couldn't
mm,
be with any of it. And so we
mm,
shut the world out because we were drowning.
mm,
And it was like, if you even look at us sideways, I can't handle it. So
mm,
unless you're here to help, get out of my face, right? That's how
mm,
it started. And then as we went along, and I started to dig into my own forgiveness,
mm,
how can I forgive myself for being being the Allison parent, right? It's the only parent I know how to be, and forgiving
mm,
myself for wherever I may have not done well.
mm,
Now I'm at the point, like we're 6 years down the road, where both kids have fallen apart. Both kids have gone to residential programs
mm,
and are doing really well now. It's easier, right? Because they are doing okay. They're not unraveling
mm,
currently.
mm,
But there is a part of me that's like, when I'm with, like when we were with our family out in Colorado, and knowing that we were being judged, like I was okay with all of it.
mm,
It's not great,
mm.
but it's not awful anymore.
No, this is a sort of an aside, but last week I had the experience of realizing I was waiting for somebody else to forgive me.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'd never asked them to forgive me, by the way, so they wouldn't be in with a shot of being able to fulfill that. But I realized I was waiting for someone else to forgive me, and sort of had this realization, oh, how about I forgive myself for all the things I did and didn't do, all the things I said and didn't say. How about I do that
Yeah.
before I look to someone else to do it? And it's that thing of it all coming back to us,
Yeah.
and what can I not be with?
Yeah. Yeah.
What can I not be with, you know, in my child, that actually is really about what I can't be with? I can't relax and, you know, let go.
Yeah.
Um, and ironically, I can't be organized enough and in control enough either. So I'm really stuffed because I can't do either properly, or so the voice in my head says.
Right. The no
Um,
winning. You're never good enough.
yeah,
You're never organized
yeah,
enough. You're never calm enough.
yeah.
You're never chilling. Yeah.
Yeah. And this feels a bit random, but I've been practicing judgment as well, owning my judgments.
Hmm.
So, you know, when I'm driving, if I
Are
see
you a
someone else,
road rager?
no, I'm not a road rager, but
Oh, darn it.
I will, I notice I'll have thoughts about what somebody's wearing. And I'll be like, really? You put that on? And I'm owning those thoughts
Yeah.
because, you know, because I want to be more accepting of who I am. And maybe,
Yes.
you know, the fact that I can be a judgmental, I'm going to say old bag, but, you know,
Mm.
clearly I hold it as a negative thing. I can be judgmental. I am judgmental. Of course I am.
Yeah.
And so
You
I'm
can.
owning it and saying it out loud and going, oh, look at that. Look at that judgment there. And by doing that,
Hmm.
I believe I'm in the practice of owning more of myself and being able to be
Yes.
with more of myself, which I think in turn, linking it
Here we
back
go.
to
She's
me as a
landing the plane.
parent,
Everybody
yeah,
listen up.
back to crash. Um, Back to parenting. If I can be with more of myself, I assert,
Mm.
mhm, that I can be with more of, in this instance, the
Yes.
people I'm parenting, my
Yes.
sons. Yeah, that's my assertion.
Yeah.
So it comes back to me sorting out my own stuff and
Yeah.
being able to be with more of myself so that I can be with more of others
I'm telling you.
without needing to change it and fix it and sort it out.
So here's where I want to end our podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start a program, a leadership program, where
Mm.
you are given a troubled teen. You can rent them, and they come for like 3 months at a time.
Can rent them.
You rent them because there is no better leadership development tool, self
Uh, uh,
awareness tool that
uh,
will point to all of the hidden nooks and crannies that, unless you have a child, you probably won't look at. You just,
mm,
it's like, I don't know what to call it. We can come up with some kind of a
mm,
sexy name at some point, but like,
mm.
it's a rental, like, here you
Mm.
go,
We'll need to be careful with the marketing of that. Sounds a little bit like child trafficking,
a touch.
we can
We'll
work that
make it
out.
classy.
Yeah, yeah, really classy.
It won't be
I've
that.
actually also got an idea for a program.
Okay, I like it.
I've written it down here. So I suggest that you and I start a program, and it's the wilderness program for parents who are addicted to controlling rather than contributing. We take them
Oh,
out into the desert, alley,
oh, okay.
with the backpacks.
Yeah,
And then I don't know what we do with them out there, but we'll think of something. But
yeah.
we,
Leave them
yeah,
and like
lead or leave. What did you say?
I said leave, but lead sounds a lot nicer.
We
I
could do
was
a
like,
mix.
bye. Yeah,
Yeah, we could do a mixture of leading
and
and
leaving.
leaving.
Yes.
Let's do that program, please.
Okay, so what if we merge them where you're put
Okay,
out in the desert with
with a
somebody
team.
else's teenager and you have to get from like point A to point B
Mm,
and you got to work it out,
mm,
whatever it is.
mm,
I like
mm.
it.
Yeah,
I like
I
it. I
think I
think,
think there's something
yeah,
coming here.
our next million. That's how we're going to make our next million.
Easy.
All right. Any takeaways from today?
Ooh,
What'd you learn that maybe you didn't know when you showed up this morning?
I think I've learned that our experiences are more similar than they may at first glance appear.
You mean yours and mine or like the world?
Yours
Ah,
and mine.
mm-hmm.
Yes. Because it's on this spectrum, this
Yeah.
thing. But actually we're dealing with the same components.
Yeah.
And I really like contributing, not controlling. It
Mm,
feels like a tagline to help me remember or reflect or notice where I'm coming from.
yeah.
And that sort of mangling where I'm trying to make controlling look like contributing. I
Dress
did it
it
yesterday.
up.
Yeah, I did it yesterday. It was engineering. How can I say this?
Manufactured.
So it sounds like a casual comment that I've dropped in as I walk past and turn the gas off.
I was gonna say, was it about the gas? It's too
No, it's
hot.
about something. Yeah, something else. So those are my
Mm,
takeaways. Those are my
good.
takeaways that we have a lot more in common as parents than one may
Yeah,
immediately think.
yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Um, I think my takeaway is that I hadn't put it together that I can actually be with a lot of judgment in others about us and our family. I hadn't put it together, and
Mm,
I think that's a a result of my ability to forgive myself for the parent that I have been and the parent I haven't been.
mm,
And once that process starts, it like boop, 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 boop. Like you can just be with
mm,
so much more of what
mm,
everybody brings. Some people are amazing and forgiving and loving and like unconditional. And some people are like, you're going to do that? Aren't you going to make them wear sunscreen? Aren't you going to force them into taking the ACT preps? Aren't you going to make them go to college?
mm,
Why do you keep paying part of their rent for them? Like, aren't you enabling all of that? Like I can be with all of it now.
mm.
And it doesn't take me out as much as it used to. It still takes me out. I am
Yeah.
still a
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah. And I really like the idea of being with more of it and
Mm,
doesn't take me out as much.
yeah.
It's not a
Fixed.
deadline fixed. This is it finished. It's a continuous expansion and opportunity to grow into more,
Yeah.
become more plastic.
Mm, look at you being all plasticky. Okay. Well done today, lady.
Hey, it felt rusty, but let's
I think
just
we're
note
good.
that.
All
Yeah.
right.
And
Little rust. If
okay.
anybody has any comments about our rustiness, please feel free.
And
Let
also
us
about our
know.
brilliance. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Both and.
Yes, please.
All
Muchas
right.
gracias.
Bye,
Ciao,
everybody.
ciao. Bye, Tracy.
See you.